What is going on, you guys? Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be playing back an audio recording that I did of a real technical interview for a developer job that I did a couple months ago back when I was on my job hunt. Now, obviously for privacy reasons, I am going to keep the company's name out of this. I'm going to leave any names out of this as well so that, the company is entirely confidential in this. And before anybody tries to say anything about recording phone calls, I live in the state of Texas where you can legally record any phone call as long as at least one party on the call gives consent. One of those persons is allowed to be yourself. So I gave myself consent to record this phone call. By doing so, you are also not legally required to inform the other party on the call that the call is being recorded. Just so we're clear on all that, this is entirely legal. There's nothing illegal about this. So please don't put it in the comments because I've already covered my bases here. So a little background on the job that I had applied for. The job listing was for a React.js developer that they were looking for. Basically, the expectation was 2 years of React.js experience and I think 5 years of JavaScript experience. I did not meet either of these requirements, but they gave me an interview anyways. To be more specific, they gave me 3 interviews, which was their entire rounds of interviews. I'm only going to be playing back one of those interviews on this video, but essentially I went through all 3 rounds of interviews with this company, and then I ended up getting ghosted, unfortunately. I even emailed to follow up with them a week later after the final interview, and they never emailed me back, which is totally fine. It's kind of to be expected to happen at some point. But I mean, if you're a company out there listening to this, just tell people like that you went with someone else or you don't want to hire them for whatever reason. Like, just be adults about it. We like to know instead of being ghosted as developers. But that's pretty much it for the background on the job. And now I'm gonna go ahead and play back the recording. Hello.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good myself. Staying healthy.
Yeah, that's the important thing right now, right?
Yeah. No, don't. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're fortunate, or should I say, you're very fortunate to be able to be in a position to work remote right now. So.
True. Yeah. I guess I can start off by saying that. Yeah. So my name. I'm one of the front end developers at. It's on here. You get some cool swag, a hat, a pin.
Cool.
No, I've been there since the middle of March, like when quarantine started here in Austin.
Okay.
Which was a very strange time to get a new job. I just got really lucky, so I'm happy with
it. Yeah, absolutely.
But I've been a front end developer since like really 2016, but only have been doing it professionally for 3 years. And I've been with this company since March. Worked at a couple places just as just front end development. Started off doing like WordPress and stuff, like a lot of people have in the past, or Drupal. Got into React. I've been working with React since late 2016, early 2017. It's still like class based, but yeah. So I'm just a front end developer there. Here with don't do any of the back end stuff. So this will probably just be like a front end tech screen. I know you do have some back end experience, it looks like. But unfortunately we're using like C# and SQL. So it's not a Node.js backend kind of thing.
Oh, so all your backend is in like C# and other languages? Okay.
Yeah. But all the front end is, obviously, I'm not going to say that. There's some legacy stuff, and that's what we're hiring. That's why I was hired too, was to get rid of this MVC application and redo it in React. So
I believe mention, is it in like ASP.NET or something like that?
It's not .NET Core, which would be cooler, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just a front end guy.
Yeah. No, I'm not super familiar with like .NET or anything as it is, but yeah, I love React though. That's the fun stuff.
Right? Yeah. Well, I guess you go by Zach or Zachary.
Zach is fine.
Okay. You want to tell me a little bit about yourself? It looks like you didn't start off in this world of development, which I didn't either. I was a mechanic for 10 years, but
It sounds like you and me have quite a bit in common.
yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I have a fairly interesting background, I guess you could say. I call myself a software engineer now. Prior to becoming a software engineer, I worked in the chemical industry for about 3 years. I worked at the first job I had in that field was at chemical operations for them, for a subcontractor company called. And then I worked for about 2 years in the oil field as a field chemist, doing chemical operations for that. And that was a whole lot of travel. Unfortunately, my COVID experience is exactly the opposite of yours. I lost my job in March because of the effect on the market. So,
Sorry about that, man.
yeah, it's all right though. I've made an incredible opportunity out of it, and 2020 has been really good to me. Other than that, but it turns out that losing your job for me was actually a great thing. So, but yeah, going back a little further, I spent 7 years in the military, this is where my background probably relates a little bit to yours. I was a gas turbine mechanic for 7 years
Wow.
in the military, so that's where my mechanical background comes in. Um, but yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in information technology, and I'm also a graduate of Galvanized Hack Reactors Coding Bootcamp Software and Engineering Immersive.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a pretty strict course.
Yeah, to put it like very shortly, yes, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some people that went through it, not recently, but yeah, like back in like 2016, 17.
Okay.
And they were like, dude, I have so much work that I have to get done. I don't have enough time.
It's a pretty incredible program, honestly, and just what you get out of it is entirely worth the investment, in my own opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I would have gone that route, but instead I went to ACC
Oh,
for
okay, okay.
computer science, and that kind of led me down into this path. Which, yeah, I totally would have loved to go to Hack Reactor instead. Probably would have picked up things a little quicker. But okay, cool. I guess I'll get into some. I asked you some questions too when he talked to you.
Yeah, we went over a little bit of JavaScript stuff yesterday.
Okay. Um, well, I'll just start off by asking, like, what's your preferred development environment? Like, you use like your IDE or whatever you use.
Yeah, so personally, I use VS Code. Um, is that what you guys use on a regular basis, or do you guys have like something that you guys use other than that?
Everybody uses whatever to get the job done.
Okay.
I use VS Code, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'm not one of those guys that just does like everything Vim. Like your editor is in Vim.
Yeah. Half the time I can't even figure out how to close Vim.
Right.
It's so the learning curve is so steep, and I don't use it regularly, so I always get stuck on it.
Yeah, I know how to edit and save and get out.
That's about it. Yeah.
That's all I remember. Yeah. Um, like what? Okay, so what kind of team are you looking for to work with?
Yeah. So I'm really I mean, I guess I'm kind of like flexible as far as teams, but from what I could tell yesterday from you guys sound like a really, a really great team. It sounds like everybody's pretty down to earth, and I asked Keith a question yesterday that was kind of like, I asked him a little bit about the team and what the kind of the culture is around like growth and like how you guys handle mistakes and workflow and things like that, and I think that it sounded like a really supportive environment that stimulates like helping each other and growth, and I think that that's really important to have on a team.
Definitely, yeah.
And I also really like the idea that he described you all as people that are builders that just love creating things. Because that's why I got into this in the first place. Is like I love to build stuff, but I'm not much of an artist or a carpenter, so code is kind of my thing.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean everybody on the team's really helpful. Even working with the backend, like if you need like an additional parameter return from an API call, like yesterday I was like, hey, can you add this to this API call, because it'd be so much easier if I just got it this way. And he's like, no problem, bloop. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, everybody's really laid back and pretty friendly. I've never seen anybody blow up, like just go, that's it.
Yeah, I think that that's really important that you have that. I don't know if like stability is like the right word for it. Like people that are emotionally balanced, I guess, would be the important word.
Yeah, no, it's a little different than our past experiences, I'm sure.
Yeah, very.
I'm sure you ran into some of those unbalanced situations.
Yeah, to say the least, yeah.
So how do you stay up to date with I guess you went to Hack Reactor. How do you stay up to date with like the latest front end technologies? Like do you listen to podcasts on the side or watch videos?
Yeah, so I'm pretty fond of listening to podcasts of fellow developers. I also I follow a fair bit of YouTubers that are in the coding space that they are pretty well adept in modern tech and stuff like that. So I like to follow some of their stuff when it comes to trying to get like a quick grasp on something new. But I also of course the single source of truth for everything is the docs. So I'm pretty familiar with finding my way around documentation, as long as the documentation isn't terrible. I've come across some pretty terribly written ones so far.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just like really confusing, and the only way to get to it is actually going into the code to see.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm pretty resourceful when it comes to like finding my way around, and when something new comes out, like I'm generally pretty interested to figure out like what it is or why they implemented it. So yeah, I definitely like picking up on the new stuff. Whenever I see that something new comes out, at least, as long as I don't miss it.
Yeah.
Everything changes so quickly.
Right? Speaking of that, like what's something new that you heard about? You like, I'm going to try that out real quick.
One thing that I gave it a shot, and I kind of built like a real basic thing out of it, it's not new, but it's been around for a while, but D3. Thought D3 was really cool. I like, I've seen like a lot of the examples and stuff out of what you can build with it, but obviously like D3 has a very steep learning curve to get good at it. So
yeah.
I built, like a basic little thing with it, but I haven't had a whole lot of time recently to invest into getting into the weeds with it, but it's on my to-do list.
It's been on my to-do list for a while. I was taking a course, like I don't know if you've heard of Front End Masters or not.
Yeah.
So I went on there and took one of their D3 React courses and got like halfway through, and I was like, okay, well, I have way too much work. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So you like SVGs and animations and things like that?
Yeah, I think that they're pretty cool and fancy, as long as they're used in the right places. as far as SVG, like I can use them. I haven't tried to actually create one.
Yeah.
That's a little harder. But yeah, they're nice though, since they don't distort when you change the sizes of them.
Yeah.
You get that issue a
True.
lot with other image types, except for WebP, I think it is that new one
Yeah.
that Google's working with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, cool. What's a recent technical challenge you experienced, and how did you solve it?
Um, should I use the kind of talked about this yesterday? Should I use the same one,
Sure.
or do you
Yeah.
want to? Okay.
No, that's
Um,
fine. I don't know anything. He didn't tell me anything.
oh,
So
okay, okay.
just except for that he already asked some of the JavaScript questions that I had shared a doc with.
Okay, okay. Do you mind if I use? I know this is a front end role, and I know that you mentioned my back end experience, but the main example that comes to mind
Yeah, no.
recently was a
Yeah, it's
back
fine.
end thing. Okay. Um, and I'll give you like a little bit of an oversight to the application at like a 10,000 foot view, but basically I was rebuilding the back end to a legacy front end code base that I was replacing an existing API. So I built out a Postgres database and put 35 million records in it. Uh, and then after that, I indexed it to increase my query speeds. And then from there, my intention was to load test it using a tool called Artillery,
Mm-hmm.
which is like an npm package. Um, so basically, like the way that it works is like you create a YAML file to generate. It's kind of like a scenario script, so it creates like fake users, and
Okay.
it ramps up. Like you set durations in different phases, and you can ramp up the fake users, and you define scenarios of like what they're gonna do when they start hitting your site. So um, basically, you can use these fake users to send requests to your routes on your backend, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll like you can see like how your server handles it under load, um, and so the kind of the caveat of using Artillery is that it runs in Node.js, so you're limited to your own system resources, such as memory, for example.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I'm sure you kind of know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
When you generate users too quickly, you overflow the memory heap and it crashes everything. Um, so I had to like slow down the rate at which I was creating users. Um, but I was also having issues. Like my goal was to hit 1,000 requests per second on my throughput, and I was having some issues doing that because of the rate at which I could create users, and the rate that they could send requests and things like that. And I was using helper functions on my Artillery script to generate like product ID numbers at random that were going to
Mm-hmm.
be used for the these ideas were going to be used for like what was going to be sent in the like the post requests and stuff going to the routes, um, and so what was happening was one way that I found to kind of optimize the speed at which these requests were going through was I was initially generating a random number between like 1 and 10 million, which takes a while. So
Yeah.
I ended up finding a way to optimize this by breaking it down into multiple functions and sending 4 different requests that cover a smaller range of product IDs between like 1 and 10 million. So I had one function that covers from like 1 to 2 million, and then like 2 million to 4 million, as an example. So
Okay.
it could basically like get through those ID loops faster, and it could send requests faster. So this actually um, like sounds really simple, but it actually like sped up my throughput quite a bit. So my initial goal was to hit 1,000, and then I ended up getting up to 1,085, which is pretty good
Nice.
for a local host. So
Just from updating, just by breaking it up.
yeah, just
That's what I'm
from
saying.
breaking it up, yeah, because
Uh,
it was causing a pretty substantial slowdown actually. Like it brought it
uh-huh.
up before I broke it down like that. My my server would basically crash once I hit about like somewhere between 700 and 800 requests per second. Was where it would start to like break down and crash, and then yeah, once I did that, it made it over 1,000. So that it was actually a pretty substantial increase.
Yeah. That's cool. All right. Well, that answers that question too, kind of. That's back end, but I'll ask it with a different one. So as far as like CSS, we're not like a super pretty product, but we do have some tools. Have you used any CSS frameworks in the past?
Yeah, so I've used like vanilla CSS as well as like CSS modules in React, but
Mm-hmm.
I've also used Bootstrap, both regular Bootstrap and React Bootstrap, and I've kind of briefly used Material UI for a couple things, but not as in depth as Bootstrap.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we used, and React Strap, whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, I like just like SaaS, but I came into it and it's just like flooded all over
Oh, really?
Bootstrap anyway. Yeah, so like there's a whole bunch of like you have to overwrite if you want to change anything.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, I haven't used Material UI myself. Maybe like a long time ago when it first came out, but it wasn't that long ago. All right, cool. Well, yeah, so we have Bootstrap, so
okay, cool. Yeah, no, perfect match then right there.
it works.
Yeah.
Bootstrap and React Strap. Um, do you know what like CSS selector specificity is?
Are you referring to like the order of precedence,
Yeah,
like how it
yeah,
determines which one is most important? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, like
Okay,
how, like for example, like if you have a class on something and an ID on something, whatever you assign as like styles to the ID will take precedence over the other one.
okay, yeah,
Just as like a quick example.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're not huge on CSS, but yeah. Okay, I guess I'll ask some JavaScript questions that uh, can you you don't have to go into like deep detail, but just vaguely describe the event loop in JavaScript.
Yeah, so the event loop is uh, basically like whenever you run your application in the browser. So you have like your execution context and your event loop. So whenever you'll always have that main execution context on your like on your stack, and then every time you run a function, you're adding on top of one another, and then as they complete, they'll kind of pop off the stack, and um, the bottom one will always be there until the actual like application finishes running. Is like a high level overview.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not looking for anything like crazy. Uh, cool. Okay, I guess I'll go into some slowly into React. What is the virtual DOM?
So virtual DOM is kind of like React's, I guess like React's virtual representation of the actual DOM. It's saved to like a JavaScript object behind the scenes, and it's great for, um, or this is one of the great things that helps React like optimize performance for changes. So whenever you like update like state or something and it re-renders the UI, the virtual DOM will like the entire thing will re-render, but on the actual DOM, only the changes will actually re-render, so it speeds up performance.
Perfect. um, okay, given that, what are some of React's key features that you think are? Yeah. What are some of React's key features?
Uh, for key features, I would say uh, building reusable components with well, I guess like yeah, React components. So like reusable UI components. JSX, if that counts as like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not exactly sure like what
I'm not looking
specific
for a
areas you're
wrong
looking
answer
for.
or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
And then ability to use state, which I think hooks have done a great job of kind of updating and replacing that, so that you get rid of a lot of complexity, being able to just use functional components for everything with hooks.
yeah. Did you ever use like the class-based React?
Yeah, I've used it. I
Okay.
definitely think I prefer hooks.
Right.
Yeah, it's much less complex because you don't have like, especially when it comes to like if you can get rid of the keyword this like anywhere, like it's nice.
Yeah. Right. uh, yeah.
And you don't have
Bind.
to bind your functions too, so that's
Right.
nice.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna go real basic. What are props and state in React?
So state would be like the actual, um, I mean, I guess it's kind of like you could kind of call it a variable that holds like all the data for your components. Like that, whenever you update state, the UI will update. So like if you have like a dynamic value that has to be passed into a component, such as like a counter, it would be saved to state so that you can update that value instead of just passing in like a number directly. And then props would be like data that's passed down to child components, which can be state or functions, almost a lot of things, I guess.
Yeah. No. You got it. Okay. So if you had like a really slow React app, how would you go about optimizing it? Another vague question. No real wrong answer there. Just curious.
So if I had to optimize a slow React application, you could reduce the size of your assets, like images, could reduce the number of requests that are being made on page load. Another thing that you could do is I'm not I haven't actually like done this myself, but I know that you can do server side rendering, and that'll substantially increase it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was looking for, kind of. Like I said, no wrong answers.
I was gonna say I can come
Okay.
up with more if you want them.
No. It's fine. You got it. What is a React hook that you typically reach for the most?
I would say it's probably a 50-50 between like use state and use effect.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Okay, so that being said, what is a use state hook then? Can you describe the use state hook to me?
Yeah, so whenever you use the use state hook, of course you have to import it, and then basically you kind of define it as a variable, except like the variable name is inside of an array. That was weird. It's like a weird sound in my closet. Anyways, so like kind of threw off my train of thought there. Sorry.
You're fine.
Yeah, so you'll define this, and you're basically defining two things at once. You're defining the variable name that's going to hold the current state, and the name of the function that's going to be used to update it. And then the only thing that comes on the other side of the assignment operator is whatever, like your use state, and then in parentheses it'll be whatever the current state is going to be set to, like initially.
Perfect. Okay, can you describe the use effect hook to me?
So use effect kind of takes the form of multiple roles. It's kind of replacing like component did mount, component did update. Like all of the lifecycle methods are kind of being replaced by that. So it'll basically be like written as a function that's going to happen whenever something changes in regards to like one of those things. And you can always pass in like a second argument as well, like empty empty brackets. Like if you only want it to update upon component did mount, or you can pass a value into that as well, which will basically be represented as like this use effect hook will only run when when like this value updates. So you can kind of control like the flow at which it like actually runs.
Perfect. Have you used the use reducer hook?
I have not used that one yet.
Okay. Are you familiar with like Redux at all?
I have an idea like what it is, what it does. I haven't really used it in an application sense. But it's it's definitely like on my learning list right now.
Well, I mean, we don't use it,
Okay.
but I was just curious if you had in the past.
Yeah,
Because
I haven't really used it, but I do like have, an overview like idea of like what it is and what it does.
okay, um, have you used the use ref hook?
I haven't used that one either. As far as like built-in hooks, I've mostly just used I think use effect and use state.
Okay, cool. Uh, no problem. I mean, this I came from a different job where we were using like the old class-based React, like
Okay.
15.3. So when I came here, it was, I mean, I played around with it, but I didn't know all of them either.
Okay.
But we've been using like, for like a global state, we've been using use context um, instead of Redux,
Hmm.
which kind of gets hairy, but it does the same thing. It's just a
Oh,
little
really?
different setup.
Okay.
It's kind of easier setup than uh, Redux, but I don't know. I'm sure there's arguments to that.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into like the other like hooks that are out there because I know that you can do a lot of cool stuff with them. I just haven't had a chance to like play around with some of them. I haven't had
Yeah.
like a use case for it for stuff that I've worked on.
Have you made any custom hooks?
I know that you can, but I haven't really had a need to. Not for
Yeah.
like the use case of like applications that I've worked on and stuff.
Okay.
But I'm sure you can do some really cool stuff with it though.
Yeah. Uh, let's see here. Where did the other one go? Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Um, okay. As far as like debugging goes, what kind of tools do you use for debug? Like when you trying to fix up that back end issue, or a front end one if you have. Okay, we'll just stick with front end. What kind of tools do you use for debugging front end?
For debugging front end, it depends, I guess, what exactly I'm trying to debug. I've used everything from snippets to like console log statements. If I'm trying to figure out like why something's not positioning right, sometimes I'll throw like a CSS border on it. I mean, there's like endless ways that I think you could go about debugging like front end stuff. It really depends like what you're trying to debug.
Yeah. So like, say you're getting uh, a response error from an API call, like a 500 or something. How would you go about debugging where or what that API call is being sent?
So if I was gonna debug an API call, I think probably the first thing that I would do is throw it into Postman and check out like what I'm
Yeah.
actually getting back from that API call.
I'm sorry, it froze on me.
Oh, did it? Oh. If I was gonna be debugging like an API call, I think probably the first thing that I would do is if I'm not getting like what I'm expecting or whatever the case is, like I think that I would probably the first thing I would do is throw it into Postman and see like what I'm getting back from that call, if anything. Um, and then kind of work my way from there. If I can, if I can get a response in Postman, then I know that something about the code that I wrote is not working correctly.
Yeah, it's good. Are you familiar with Git at all?
Yeah, so my like I guess primary workflow is typically using Git and GitHub. I don't know if you
I mean,
guys
I checked
use.
out your GitHub. Yeah, Code
Yeah,
and Tacos.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's cool. I was gonna check out your COVID-19 app.
Oh yeah, that's actually probably my one of my oldest like public projects on there. I built that
Yeah.
one like towards the beginning of the year, I think. I don't think I've touched it since like maybe like February or March.
Oh, okay.
It works. It's built in React and it works. I just haven't touched it in a long time, so it's pretty dated.
Cool. Uh, so are you familiar with doing like pull requests and doing like peer reviews on pull requests?
Uh, yeah, yeah, we definitely did like a lot of that throughout the Galvanize program. Like we had a
Cool.
very you know like kind of agile workflow. A lot of the stuff that we did was we had like we didn't use Jira. We used like Trello for issue tracking. And throughout like team workflows and stuff, like we would do we wouldn't work off the master branch. We would always have another branch and then push features and then do merge pull requests to merge and things like that. um, I haven't obviously like done it in a professional setting, but I have like kind of
That's the
like
same
I have
concept.
I have a general idea of like the process like
Yeah, it's
behind
the
it.
same thing. Yeah. Cool. Um, so have you ever had to deal with like forms in React, uh, like creating forms or yeah? Have you created forms in React?
Yeah, primarily just using like the standard React forms as well as the Bootstrap version of React forms. I know that you guys use Formic for that, which I haven't used, but I looked it up this morning actually, and it doesn't look too complicated to pick up.
No, it's got a lot of magic built into it, which can cause issues. It basically just kind of handles uh, a lot of the validation for you
Okay.
itself. Um, but that being said, sometimes if your form is just like an input and a submit button, like I don't know. I'm kind of yeah. I think it's cool. I'm not gonna knock it. What about like building out spreadsheets in React or tables?
I don't know that I've built anything that would classify as like a table. Like I mean I've built like HTML tables obviously, but that's like kind of a different thing. Um, uh, I've built it's not so much a table, but I've built like CSV generators. Like
No, that's cool. We have a lot of tables in our code base that uh, we use. I don't remember what it's called. React table, maybe.
is it like a plugin or
Yeah, it's just a third party. Yeah.
okay? It's kind of like Chart.js but for tables.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, let's go. Um, well, I mean, I think that's about all the questions that I have. Did you have any questions? I'm sure you do about like the team or the the job itself.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to, hear like a run through about, some of the team and like, y'all's work process or like what a normal week looks like with you guys.
So Um, Basically, we have a stand-up discussion. It's remote, obviously, so you're actually sitting down um, every morning at 10, um, Monday through Friday. Um, and you can, I guess people used to come in after that and then start working. I'm not sure exactly how that went, but yeah, I typically start around 9, have scrim at 10, work till 5 or 6, sometimes later if I'm trying to knock something out. Um, a lot of things on Slack, a lot of communication on Slack throughout the day. Um, a lot of stuff in the random channel. I don't know if you're familiar with Slack or not, but we have a random channel. It's just like full of memes constantly.
Yeah, I'm in like 10 different Slack channels. Mine's going off all day.
Yeah. So basically, if I don't have anything to excuse me. Went down the wrong tube.
That's the worst, isn't
it? Yeah. I don't have COVID. It's basically you pick a ticket off. Jesus.
Take a minute, I'm not in a hurry.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So basically, you take a ticket off of the backlog, which we track everything in Asana. It's kind of like Trello, but not. It just says like your backlog in progress, QA, and that's kind of how the flow goes.
That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Using Asana.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, it's not difficult at all. But just take something, whatever's on the top of the backlog that says like a front end UI thing. Jeez.
You okay?
So yeah, I'll typically just like take something off. This past week, I'll just give a real example. So I had to build like a new application that could find loads, truckloads, with Google Maps and like address searches, and then build a table based off the API call. So that was actually one of the coolest projects I've worked on so far here, which it hasn't been merged in yet because I still have to fix some things.
Okay.
But it's been pretty cool. We don't have we just got a designer. I got water. Thank you. Sorry. We just got a designer, but before that we didn't have one, so you kind of had to like make it up yourself, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I'd get like a wireframe sort of like where we want these pieces to be. But you kind of just have to design yourself with Bootstrap and React Bootstrap.
It's pretty straightforward. Like
yeah, it makes it pretty easy. Yeah, and just I'll go back and forth with like usually the projects that I'll take on. It'll be like 1 to 2 back-end people are working on that same project for me. And we'll just go back and forth on Slack. Be like, well, I don't think this API call is returning the right things. But this one has gone pretty smooth. I haven't had to ask him for much.
Cool. That's always the best when things go right.
Right? Yeah.
Which almost never happens.
Yeah. And then towards like the end of it, like yesterday I had to do a demo with everybody, Keith included, just to, go over that project itself and show or get any input like, that looks off, that's wrong, and that's a typical thing that we do if you're taking on like a larger project. Yeah, everybody's pretty laid back.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. So like I guess like how many like front end guys do you guys have versus back end?
So we have like, I want to say 4 like full stack developers.
Okay.
And I say full stack, but most of them are like they started in the back end and they're getting into React, doing front end. There's a couple that know React pretty well now. And then there's me and one other front end developer that's like our strict role right now.
Okay.
And he just came on like 2 months ago, I want to say. So yeah, I was going somewhere with that. Sorry, man.
No, you're all right. So
it's not a huge team. It's like 8 to 10 people, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out like because like it seems like a really small company.
Yeah, so what it is they have taken over a different application that was built like a long time ago. So the company's actually been around for a really long time. Like one of the guys has been with the company for 13 years.
Okay.
They're just rebranding it for this new app that we're doing, or redoing their MVC application. So yeah, they just kind of made it a new name.
Okay. At least they got a good name. It sounds cool.
Yeah. Unless if you call it, and then
yeah. So just like out of curiosity, what is it that brought you to, or like the other team members, like what is it that got you guys excited about working there versus where you were working before?
Okay, so where I was working before, I did have an unfortunate experience where the company I worked for was bought out.
Oh, okay.
And did a whole bunch of layoffs of like the entire tech team.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. That was February. And I was lucky enough to get this job in March, right before quarantine happened.
Yeah, super lucky.
Yeah.
So has COVID had any kind of like negative effect on like you guys having to switch to remote, obviously?
No. So actually, I mean, I lucked out. I mean, it's just an application for, not just, dispatch, logistics, but also there's a React native app for like drivers.
Okay.
But I don't touch that. I guess we don't touch that. There's somebody else that works on it.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't think we're gonna lose, and I'm not worried. Is what I'm gonna say.
Well, that's good to hear because these are very unconventional times, if nothing else. So
yeah, it's just I landed in this industry at the right time. Well, combo industry at the right time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully next year is better. But,
yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool, man. It sounds like you guys are definitely like, a really like tight knit team of laid back people, and that's like great. Nobody wants to work with like people that you don't enjoy being around, obviously. So
right, yeah. Well, I've done that.
Well, I think everybody's done that at some point, and yeah, you're right. It's not fun. if you can get, a solid team together of like-minded people that can tolerate being around each other for 10 hours a day, like that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone into the office a few times during this. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's not a whole bunch of people. There's only like three other people if you go,
Mm.
max. So easy to keep your 6 feet. But yeah, everybody's pretty cool to be around. There's like coffee, snacks, drinks, whatever in the break room. Yeah, it can get kind of crazy. Just like just the environment. I've heard, I haven't witnessed firsthand, but I've heard that can it can get uh, it can be fun, I guess. Like playing games. I think on Fridays they used to do like video game day, and after work you can play video games. There's like a room with a VR headset, and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Standard
I've never.
standard tech company stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool though. Um, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Is that what you were asking?
uh I I think I lost my train of thought too. We just kind of got on a tangent there. I'm trying to remember what I asked. Yeah, I don't remember, but whatever it was, it answered my question. So,
Okay, cool. The whole water thing threw me off there. Did you have any other questions?
um, I I think that kind of covers my main curiosities at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like a super exciting opportunity. And I like the idea of getting to work more with React and fine tuning that skill set and picking up some new ones. So it sounds super awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I mean, it does help uh, being like forced into it. Have you ever used TypeScript at all, or like looked into it?
Uh, I know of it, but I haven't used it. But I know it's like one of like the hot things right now
Yeah.
for the next 6 months.
Well,
But
it's stuck in our code base. Uh, I hadn't used it until I came here myself,
okay.
but it's kind of cool. It kind of helps prevent bugs and stuff while you're building it. You have to
Oh,
like
really?
be explicit about um, what can this function do, or what does it return, things like
Hmm.
that.
So it's kind of like, uh, I guess like I was gonna say like prop type validation in React, but like for your regular JavaScript.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, yeah, it's a good chunk of it
Okay,
for me
cool.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because I didn't use it before I came here and didn't know if maybe you had.
No, not offhand. I haven't used it, but I know there's like a ton of versions too. There's like TypeScript, there's CoffeeScript. I don't know. There's so many buzzwords now for all these new like little
Oh yeah.
dialects of JavaScript and whatnot.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks, Zach. I appreciate your time. Sorry about that little cough episode there.
No, it's okay. It totally happens.
Yeah, that was weird. All right. Well, thanks, man. I do appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll get back to you soon.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. I'll keep an eye out for like an email or something from him.
Okay. All right, man. Well, take it easy.
Yeah, thanks, man. You too. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Bye. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Hopefully this kind of gave you a better understanding of what a actual technical interview is like, especially right now while all of the technical interviews that are happening remote for the most part. I know that it's a strange world right now, so hopefully this helped bring some clarity to that, or even just helped give you a little more of what a technical interview is like. But that's all that I have for today, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button down below and hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I post new content. Thanks for watching.